Hey guys, it's Mike coming back with another update video. And this was pretty quick, but I just showed my Barney Pelty PC a few days ago, and right at the time I found the Ramly. This is a 1909 T204 Ramly. Now, long before I knew about this Barney Pelty being in the set, years ago, at probably my first or second national, I saw a bunch of these cards sitting on a dealer's table at the National, and I thought, wow, that's a amazing design, and amazing looking sets. He had a whole bunch of them. And we're talking 1909 here, and nice little oval frame pictures with an ornate gold border to them. Just really cool. And Um, I always thought that's a cool set. Of course, some of the big names in there, it's super expensive, so I never thought I'd really own the set or anything of the set. And then later on, when I started collecting, I was doing Hank and Johnny, and of course, then I started looking at some of the Jewish players, and I saw Barney Pelty was in the set. And so that was a few years ago, and by the time I finally got around to collecting some Pelty cards, I knew this is the one I wanted to have of the bunch. And it's gotten harder to find, of course. Back then, you'd see them every now and then, but they've kind of dried up like everything else. Got this off of eBay at auction, and it's going to SGC. But just wanted to show it. I just thought I think it's one of the nicest looking sets ever issued. Period. Um, it's just very unique, very simple, but nice pictures. That's kind of like the sporting life I showed you. That's got the, I called it the vampire look, but this one's not touched with any colors or highlights. This is just a nice black and white photo. Don't know why they had upturned collars back then. Maybe somebody could tell me that. But just a beautiful card. And a little bit of history to it. I'm going to show my Helmar card. This is the 1911 Helmar stamps. If you will look at the name Helmar, you will see that it's actually Ramly spelled backwards, except it's spelled differently. Um, this is how it's on the back of the Pelty card, the Ramly. But back in the early 1900s, Ramly, Ramleh, was a tobacco company in Egypt that sold Egyptian cigarettes. And eventually it was bought out in the early 1900s by the American Tobacco Company. After they bought them out, that's when Ramley's uh, cigarettes in 1909 and other issues, I'm sure, they began to cut into their market because Ramley, Ramleh, that was brought over from Egypt, they spelled Ramly, and people would buy the smaller market. This was made by the Boston, I think it's the Boston, the Mentor Company in Boston, Massachusetts. And they would get the names mixed up, and people would buy the smaller company's Ramley cigarettes and not the tobacco giant American Tobacco Company. So they decided they had enough of that, and I think in 1907 they changed the name of the product from Ramley. They spelled it, if you look at it spelled backwards, it's Helmar, Helmar. So they did that to try to get away from the Ramley brand from Boston so that they could sell their products without any interference. And Helmar became a very popular product up until I believe the 60s. So it's a little interesting side note there. Um, but and I read that if you wonder where they get a name like Ramly, in Arabic, Raml is the word for sand, uh, Sand. So being in Egypt, there's plenty of sand, and I guess that's why they called it Ramly. But interesting that the small Boston market decided to make a play on words, and it worked well enough to where the giant company actually changed the name of their cigarette, but just reversed the letters and became very successful with it. So that's a little note, a little historical note on the products, but I thought that was cool. But so happy to get this. They're pretty tough. I wouldn't say they're super rare, but there's not a whole lot. I think PSA is only graded like about 20, give or take, and SGC is graded a few. The Helmar is much harder to get, but this is probably my favorite Pelty card by far, just because I just love the design. I always have, and can't wait to get it back from SGC on the next submission with Mike. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you all are doing well, and Lord willing, we'll do it again soon.